Me Nourish. I am Michelle Rawls, your licensed nutritionist, your licensed nurse, your diabetic education specialist, and your certified menopause coach. Yes, that is new, by the way. So that is a new certification out here available for everyone today. I am so excited to be back here with you all today because I have an amazing guest for you guys. I'm going to tell you what, this podcast is going to blow you away. So stay tuned right here. Be watching. Here we go. I have the lovely Miss Grace Gravestock, who is a corporate change management expert. I want to say this correctly because there's a reason why I'm going to be very slow in how I speak with what she does because I want you to hear what I have to say. All right, so Miss Grace, with over 20 years of experience helping organizations and individuals embrace transformation with clarity and confidence. She has worked with Fortune 500 companies. She has guided teams through complex shifts with proven strategies that make change more effective and even more exciting. So we got more here. Hold on. Miss Grace has, I'm telling you, she's got some major expertise that you're going to want to hear today. All right, so Miss Grace, she goes far and beyond the corporate world, way beyond the corporate world. All right, as the founder of Know Yourself Revolution, she specializes in helping midlife professionals from life's unexpected shifts. And believe me, there's a lot of them throughout this lifetime, whether a layoff, a health challenge, or a major life transition. Okay, so like, we empty nesters, or hey, things are really kind of taking a turn in our relationship. This is Miss Grace. She is who you want to talk to. She is powerful. She has a powerful opportunity for reinvention using human design, career alignment strategies, and transformational coaching. Grace helps people create their ideal next chapter of life in a way that feels truly aligned with who you are. Now, the question is who are you? So whether you're navigating change in your career or your relationships or your personal growth, today's conversation is packed with insights to help you move forward with confidence and purpose. So Ms. Grace, I am so happy you are here with me today. I'm so excited. I want you to dive a little deeper into what we just told everybody about. So I'm going to let you take it away for a few minutes. Go ahead, dive a little deeper into who is Miss Grace and what does she do?
Thank you, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here. And, midlife transition is something I know a lot about. About 9 years ago, the ex put a knife to my neck. It was very unexpected. I really didn't know what to do. It led me on a journey that, in a short period of time, I lost my job, I lost my house, I lost my marriage, I lost everything, my health crisis, like all of it at the same time. And I was going through it and it was devastating. I just felt like I don't even want to be here anymore because everything I thought I had built my life on was not what I thought it was. And I thought, what just happened? And I was ready to check out. I moved in with friends. They pushed me to get a reading of this system. And I was very skeptical. I was not used to spending so much money on myself. But they kept pushing, kept pushing. And finally I did. And it was in the third time listening that I heard a voice. And that voice said, "You are not broken. You're perfect the way you are. You're perfectly designed to be and do exactly what you came here to be and do." And my message for you today is, and so are you.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And we're going to dive a little deeper into that. Grace has offered an opportunity to take a session that we had, and she's going to reach in and dive a little deeper into me and give me some insights. So hold on, we're going to do that. But I want to know a little more about Miss Grace. Okay. So, and so do you, I promise. All right. So, Miss Grace, you have the founder of Know Yourself Revolution, and you also have the Know Yourself Revolution podcast. So, you have a community that you have built tell us about the community and how can one come to be a part of the community?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. It's a great question. So we do have a community. The Know Yourself Revolution is a community. We have a Facebook group. We also have a daily gratitude practice. So I have people from all over the world. We join every weekday to do my two-step manifestation process, which starts with gratitude, raising your frequency through gratitude, and then consciously creating through choice, through the technology of words, and it's powerful. So we've had people just do amazing things every day. And in fact, when I left my one of my corporate adventures, when I left my job, I didn't have a job to go to. They told me I was a bully. I'm not a bully, and I was so frustrated, and I just quit
Wow.
without having a job. But in less than a month, I had my ideal dream job, which was my dream job at the time. And it was just like that. And it was because of this process that I teach now. It's very powerful, and it has to do with gratitude. So we use gratitude to intentionally create what we want. We get into the frequency, and it's very easy. Anybody can do it. So that's the community. There's the daily gratitude practice community, and then there's the larger community for the Know Yourself Revolution, which is all about knowing, loving, and trusting yourself first. And we get to lead by example, and we do that when we know who we are, we love who we are, and we learn to trust who we are. And when we do that, it changes things for everybody around us because it gives them confidence, it gives them clarity because we are confident and clear ourselves, and that shifts everything around us.
Right. So we've talked about this in a little bit of detail. Why is it so? I'm gonna kind of break this down. We're gonna go through several little pieces here. Why is it so important for us to know who we are? What makes that so important through the human design process?
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. So here's the thing. We are all configured differently. I mean, we know this on some level. We have a lot in common, of course, as humans, but every one of us is different. And so many of us have believed the lie that if we just do X, Y, Z and follow this process, that it will be, will just be a cookie cutter life. Like we'll have 2.4 kids, we'll have the white picket fence and the dog and everything else, and we'll be happy. The
Right.
fact of the matter is, we're configured in such a way that's different. It means that our way of interacting with the world is different depending on our configuration. So it's like if you were a Wi-Fi signal, which basically you are.
Right. Right. You are.
You're going to be broadcasting and receiving different things based on your configuration than I will. And so if you know how you're configured, it changes everything for making the best decisions for you, for using your intuition, for making life easy. It doesn't have to be a struggle, and also knowing where what it looks like when we're on track or versus when we're not. Like that's something that everyone can get in the free purpose report that I offer. It's very simple, and yet it's different, depending on the person, and it's just all predicated on your personal information, which is your address in the universe, which is really your date of birth, your time of birth, and city of birth.
Okay, we're gonna dive into that in a minute too. So we're gonna talk that goes along with what we're talking about today. So the next question I have for you is relationships are they're hard today. They're hard to have. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say this. It was really hard to hear that you had an ex to put a knife to your neck. That I've been in that situation, so you and I are we're bonded in that way. I understand. So many people are in those situations because they do not know who they are. Really, they're not deep into themselves to know who they are. We get trapped. We get trapped inside of us. So, coming to you and going through one of your sessions, how can we move in that design process? What's one of the steps that we could really take right now to come out of that situation and move in the right direction? What would you tell someone right now who's listening?
I would say when you know who you are, then you no longer are at risk for being the victim of a narcissist or whatever. I've been that. What I learned from this, one of the biggest things that I've learned from this system, and now I've done more than 2,000 readings, and I've been studying it for about 9 years. And what I've learned is that life happens for us, not to us. And so when you see your configuration, what you'll understand is now this could be scary, but it's very freeing.
I know,
Talking about
right? Right.
relationships. Say it again.
I know, right? It can be very scary in the beginning. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute because I was scared, but I'm ready to open up and hear. So go ahead, tell them why it could be.
What I mean by that is when you start to understand that you are configured to attract certain kinds of relationships, initially it could be scary. Like for me, when I learned about this, I was, for part of my design, I was crying every time I thought about it for a couple of years because for my configuration, I know that I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. And I thought, am I fated to just be miserable and not have good relationships? Just like, what is up with this? And what I eventually came to find out, which is going to benefit you as well, is that we are all configured to attract the lessons that we're here to learn. And that means attracting certain kinds of people. And here's the good news. When you know who you are, you you no longer have to be subject to that, and you no longer have to be a victim, because when you stand in your power, when you know who you are, and you reject the pressure that you might feel to live someone else's life, which is what I was doing in my marriage for 15 years before I had that traumatic breakup. I was living someone else's life, but I didn't know it. And what I know now is that that's why I was so frustrated. So if you're frustrated in life, you're probably like 70% of us that are configured to have frustration when we're not in alignment with who we're here to be. And so then when you know that, it's so freeing because you can then see frustration as, oh, it's like hitting the bumps on the side of the road, bump, 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 you're not supposed to drive there, right? You can. So just like you can be in frustration, but you don't have
Right.
to. And that's the good news.
I like the bump scenario. That was very good because that's exactly the way, I felt for many years in my second marriage. Yes, the bumps. I was living somebody else's life. I was trying to live mine, but I wasn't able to live mine because it was being consumed by someone else. So that narcissistic behavior for sure. So with that being said, what does we talked about this, and not many people, when I say a 10 out of 10 relationship, I get a lot of people who look at me and go, what is that? But explain what a 10 out of 10 relationship really is.
Well, if you ask a bunch of people, you're going to get a bunch of different
You
responses, right? I know
will.
you're asking me to get a unique perspective, and I'll tell you, a 10 out of 10 relationship for me is one that helps me grow. And so when because I have that perspective, I can see the challenges in the relationship and realize that this person I've attracted into my life to be a mirror. And when we look at your chart, I'll show you, Michelle, some of the mirrors that you hold in your being that are going to attract certain things in your life so that you can learn. So a 10 out of 10 relationship for me is one that allows me to learn the lessons that I'm here to learn and to master the things I'm here to master. And the good news is every relationship that I attract to me inevitably will fit that criteria. And so when I know that I'm configured uniquely to attract those lessons and to master certain things, I can see the benefits in every single relationship. And I can show you what I mean when we look at your chart.
All right. Okay. So, are you ready to go in that direction? Are you
I'm
ready to
ready.
do that?
Let's do it.
All right, so everyone, Miss Grace, she actually hosts a workshop that she's got coming up. It is called the Intimacy Breakthrough Workshop on April the 19th. So I actually attended one of Miss Grace's workshops, and I every time I talk about it, I'm getting chills again. So I attended this workshop And I started getting these chills with everything she was talking about with relationships and how this point and this point. I mean, so at every point you spoke about, Grace, it was resonating. It was like, okay, is that me? Is that a possibility? Is that why I attract this or why I attract that? I mean, you really bring the questions upon yourself to ask, is that why I do this? And then when you take the actual, quiz test, I'm not sure what you really call it. I took it as a quiz. It was very insightful. And you're going to dive deeper into it because I just basically got the front part of it. I didn't get the deeper end of it. So, I'm going to let you go ahead and explain this process, and I'm gonna let you kind of take it from here. So pay attention, everyone. This is interesting for sure. So, and make sure you attend this workshop, and she'll tell you how to get to the workshops. Go ahead, Miss Grace, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, so we'll put the link in the show notes. It's kyr.life/intimacy. That'll take you straight to the Zoom registration. So it's a Zoom meeting, and so it won't be recorded except for educational purposes. But everyone who has attended has been, I've got so much positive feedback. It's been life-changing. And the reason is it's not about me, it's about you. So
I was gonna
when you
say
get when you
it's life
attend,
changing, but it's about me. It's not about you. That's interesting. So I like that. All right.
well, I've done a lot of training, with my background in corporate projects. I've been a training lead and a training manager, and I've been a change lead and all these things. So I've done corporate training. This is unlike that. This is very different. It's called transformational leadership. And so it's a workshop that will help you unpack your intimacy to help you have your intimacy breakthrough. And it starts with yourself. So knowing, loving, and trusting yourself first. It's actually my life purpose. And so when I realized this and I did this intimacy breakthrough and I had such off the charts response, 110 people registered, and we had 71 in the first time around, and there were 49 actively participating on camera. Like, it was very engaged. People loved it, and I was shocked. And the reason it was so powerful, though, is it wasn't about me and it wasn't me training. It was like me facilitating an opportunity for people to really have a breakthrough in intimacy. And we're starved for intimacy these days.
We
We
are.
feel connected with all the social media, but in reality, how much real intimacy do we have? And most people don't have enough. And and so this is the
Disconnection
problem.
is real. It's the
This
disconnection is very real for sure.
absolutely, yeah. And so this disconnection actually starts with ourselves. So we get disconnected with who we really are, and we get disconnected from our voice. We get disconnected from our own inner guidance system. We get told what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to think and how we're supposed to be, and we try like good little girls and boys to
Right.
be that, and it doesn't work, and we get frustrated and we get disconnected from our truth. And so having the intimacy breakthrough is an opportunity for you to get connected with yourself. And that's what I realized was my purpose, as I've done this work with human design for all these years. We each have 4 key codes, and these codes make up 70% of what we're here to be and do. My codes uniquely are about intimacy. So when I did this intimacy breakthrough, it was a revelation. It was the breakthrough I needed in my intimacy levels in life. And what I realized is that intimacy is so much bigger than what most people think of as sexual intimacy. There's so much more about intimacy that we can unpack, and we do in the intimacy breakthrough. So that's a free workshop coming up on April 19th, and we'll put the details in the show notes. But yeah, that's about intimacy. So all of this intimacy with yourself is really predicated on knowing who you are and what you're here to be and do, and then operating as yourself instead of trying to be like someone else. And we're told that if we can just be like the Joneses or whatever,
Right.
we
I was
think
gonna
we're going to
say,
find happiness, and
how many
that's not how it
times?
works.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times were you told, as a viewer today, I want you to think before Grace really dives into this, how many times were you told, well, if you could just be like, or if you could just do like. Think about that, because as Grace dives into this today, it's going to be an eye opener. And I really want you to attend that workshop because it's even more than today. What she does there is much more than today. So go ahead, Grace. I think I'm ready. I'm not sure. I've kind of had a chill down my spine. So I'm
Exciting.
a
Well, so
little
what,
scared, but
what,
I'm excited.
So what we're going to demonstrate, what I'm going to demonstrate with you, Michelle, now is your chart. So I'm going to show your chart, what it looks like. I'm going to give a couple, there's so much we could say about it. So I'm going to just hit some high points and you can ask some questions. So this is not something we're going to get a lot into in the intimacy breakthrough. Everyone has a chance to get a free report, and it's a purpose report. So it will explain a lot of these things for free. You'll get them as a framework, which will help you with intimacy breakthrough. But really, the only connection between, I mean, I say the connection between what we're about to dive into and the intimacy breakthrough is knowing yourself, loving yourself, and trusting yourself. And so when you know who you are, and this chart will give you some good indications, you can start to live your life as you instead of someone else. And that is really where you can start to experience the intimacy with yourself that you've probably never had. And that's where you're going to feel it. You're going to realize, oh my gosh, there's opportunities here.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because my horoscope said I was going to learn something today that I haven't known, and I see now where it's coming from. Okay.
Wow, that's so
Right? That
cool.
was in my horoscope today. It said you're going to learn a secret about you today. So I maybe that's why
Wow,
it's chill in my spine. Okay, so let's do this.
that's so fascinating. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. So for everyone watching, you are seeing a different side of Michelle than you've ever seen. And Michelle, this might be a part of you that you've never seen really in this way.
Probably not. That's why I think I'm getting ready to learn something. Okay.
Yeah, it's so exciting because what this shows, and it shows so much, and we're not going to get into all the details. There's just too much. It's overwhelming. But what I want to show you is a couple of key things here. And so what we're looking at is a picture of you kind of as a Wi-Fi signal. Represented, if you think of it like a Wi-Fi signal, what I can tell is all the things that you're broadcasting. So you're here to have a pretty big impact through just your being, because everything that's colored in represents energy that you're broadcasting. If you think of it like a light bulb, you're just broadcasting this light all the time and you can't help it. And so that's what we're seeing as color. And then, and each of these are called energy centers. So much like a control room has, like your sound, like if you're thinking about yourself as a computer, you've got all these different aspects that that make up who you are. And so if all the things that are color are what you're here to broadcast all the time, what that means is you're here also to master these things. And you're going to master them because they're consistent. In fact, this is the only part of you that is going to be consistent throughout your lifetime. It's going to be your experience with the world as it relates to all these things that you're broadcasting. And everything else that's white, represented as white here, represents receiving dishes. So I do this with my hands because it's like a catcher's mitt, if you think of it like that. And
Yeah.
so all the time you're both giving and receiving information, much like if you think of like this is my earbuds, right? So they're Wi-Fi enabled. So when this lid is open, it's like being in your body. This was I'm giving you the summary of my intimacy breakthrough, and it happened not that long ago. It was really profound. So if you think about how your Bluetooth works, in order for this to work, the lid has to be open, right? Well,
Right.
that's a parallel to being in your body.
Oh
See, I
wow.
spent many, many years trying to escape my body. I came from a religious background where, like, who needs the body? Let's just get to heaven, right? So,
I totally can relate with that. So yeah.
yeah, a lot of people probably can. And I'm not trying to dog religion. I'm just saying it. My experience of it was I didn't want to be in my body. And so because I wasn't in my body, it was as if this is my intuition, the door was kind of locked on it until I got in my body. And as soon as I got in my body, now everything can work, right? Because I can take the earbuds out and I can actually connect them to my computer.
That's really good.
So
I like that analogy. Yes.
thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. So the first thing about intimacy is to be in your body. And that was new for me, you know. So once you're in your body, the reason I mention that is because all of these centers are predicated on being in your body. So either you're broadcasting information from all the centers or you're receiving, and they require you to literally be in your body. And if you're a person who has not been in your body for whatever reason, I think you'll know what I mean. And if you're not a person who that resonates for, don't worry about it. It just means
Right.
yeah, it just means that this system teaches us that our body has sensors in it, basically, that help us to pick up information. And here's a practical way to relate to this. Like if you've ever been in an office or in your home and somebody walks through the door and they're really upset, you don't really need to hear them say, I'm upset. You can tell, right? You can feel it. Most people can feel it if somebody walks in the room and they're upset. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because our energy field actually receives information. And so that's what this image represents. So, Michelle, you have catcher's mitts here and here and here and here. And so, what does that actually mean? It means that you're either, so right now you're receiving, what is this? This is inspiration from beyond the physical realm. And this is mind. So you actually have the capacity to read my mind. And so there's some people that are going to be like, oh, that's too woo-woo. But here's, just hear me out. Because I'm broadcasting, you know, my configuration is opposite of yours. So I'm broadcasting inspiration from here and a particular way of thinking about the world, which you could think of as like a fixed way of looking at life. Because I'm broadcasting and you're receiving, you have a receiving dish, it means that I'm literally sending that information to you and your sensors can pick it up. And that's what I mean by when I say you can read minds. You have the capacity to read minds. Now, there's a lot of people that have this configuration that I've talked to, and they're split. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I've never told anyone that. How did you know? And
I
then there are
haven't
people.
mentioned a lot about that, no, but I have been told that, are you sure you can't read minds? Because I have the capability of picking up on, yeah, and it's been kind of eerie at times, yeah, for sure.
And
So I just don't
now
talk
you
about it
know
a lot.
why.
Yeah, now
Now
I
you know
do.
why. Yeah.
So
And
thank
so
you.
you're welcome. Yeah. So having these two open is, you can basically read minds. And then this one, having that open makes you an empath. So it means you have a receiving dish for emotions, for feelings. So what that could mean is if you're taking in other people's emotions, that could be a wild ride because it could feel like all of a sudden you're on an emotional roller coaster and you did not remember signing up for that. But all of a sudden you're on the ride, right? It's like
Yes.
somebody just put you on that roller coaster and you're on it. You're like, what just happened? And what happened is because you've got a receiving dish there, someone is in your field, meaning somebody, usually it's about 6 feet out, could be bigger, but somebody, and this is going to be the kind of people you're going to attract. Michelle, you and I are the same in this way. We've got both of these open, which means we're going to attract people that are going to help us learn lessons. Isn't that fun?
Wow. Okay. That was interesting.
So do you want to know what this lesson is?
I do. I really do now.
So this is the empath lesson, and this lesson is all about learning to put yourself first, because people who have this configuration are people pleasers, and they're really, really good at knowing what the other person needs. Does that resonate?
Yep, it does. It very much does. Yes. Yes, I'm not good with putting myself first. I am good with putting other people first. And that is where the nurse comes in me, of course, wanting to help other people. I will help someone before I'll help myself. Again, putting myself first before I will sit off to the side before and let somebody else be saved in the boat, right? So
Yeah.
yes, that's me. I would rather give my life jacket to someone else, knowing, that they would maybe have the capability of maybe having longevity to life more, than me. I've lived, right? That's my thought process. So yes, but saving myself first, of course, is what you should do, right? It's just not something that I would feel
It's
selfish doing that. Yeah.
right. And a lot of people do because, because you're so good at anticipating other people's needs, it's because you have a catcher's mitt for their emotions. And so you're
Yeah.
feeling them, and it's so automatic for you to please others. You already know what they need. And it's many ways and many times it's easier for you to just give them what they need than
Yeah.
for you to even think about what you need. It's
Right.
so ingrained, right? And especially when you're trained as a nurse, as you are, and all these things, you're really good at that. And so when I say you get to live your own life instead of someone else's, here's where choice comes in. So when you know that you're an empath, as you are, Michelle, you can choose when you feel that information coming into your system, you feel those emotions, you can say, wait a second, that's not mine. And as soon as you say no, that it's kind of like sitting in a screened in porch. If you're in a screened in porch and somebody's smoking right outside your porch, that smoke will come through the screen, right? Well,
Right.
that's very similar to this. So you can imagine the smoke is the emotions, and they're coming into your center, and you're picking it up. And so all of a sudden you're choking, and you might feel like, oh no, I'm allergic to smoke. And it could feel like you're smoking because you
Right.
got all the smoke around you, right? You didn't choose that, or did you? So if you don't say no, that smoke is going to come in. But if you say no, that's not mine, an energetic barrier will come down, and it will block you from feeling all that emotion. So it literally is as simple and as easy as you just saying, nope, that's not mine. And boom, you will not feel those emotions. But that only works when you're living in conscious awareness.
Okay.
Because if you're living on autopilot, you're not able, or you're not out of your body, you're not going to be able to pick that up. Does that make sense?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can see where I do have the capability in thinking back on some situations. I do have the capability of turning it off. I really do. It's there. I am obviously not evoking that the way it needs to be done. So yes. So I totally see this.
It's so powerful. You are so
This
powerful.
is very powerful. Um, and as someone sitting here watching this today, I can't express how powerful that just was because unless you're a nurse, you might be able to understand. We're put in a lot of situations. We see a lot of things. We take in a lot of people's emotions because of the situation, whatever they may be going through, whatever, the patient may be or the family may be. Um, I became very good at not receiving those emotions from people as I continued in my journey as a nurse. Many people today would come across and say that I am not empathetic or sympathetic any longer, due to, being able to barrier that and do my job. Um, that's happened. I've had family say, well, are you not sympathetic to the fact? I am. I just need to do my job. So yeah.
Well, the thing is, we sometimes think that if we feel it, that we're doing somebody a favor, but just like the smoke coming through the screen doesn't help the person who's smoking at all. Like just because we're
Right.
smelling it or we're feeling it, it doesn't help them at all. It doesn't make any difference. So that's where we get to say, wait a second, I'm really sensitive to smoke, so I need to shut that window so that I don't feel that smoke because it's going to bother me. It's not going to affect the person who's smoking outside,
Right. Right.
and it doesn't help them if we smell it. So all we have to do is just say no, and as soon as you say no, um, I'll tell you a quick story and I want to share this because if you're listening and you're a people pleaser, I want to give you one of the most powerful um, bits of advice that I've ever received in the last 9 years from doing this. So here's what it looks like. And this applies to 50% of people have this configuration, just like you and I, Michelle. And so if
Wow.
that's you, if you identify as a people pleaser, I want you to know that this is how easy it gets to be. So I was in a car with my friend. We were driving to Florida, and she had lost her husband 2 years before. So she was still going through a lot of grief. And as we were driving, I felt, I sensed this was coming on, and I grabbed my phone and I went to distract myself. And she grabbed my arm and she's like, Grace, I need you to be here with me, present. And I was like, what? What? I really wanted to just check my phone. And so all of a sudden, I closed my eyes. I'm like, how do I be present? I'm focusing on my breathing. I sounded like I was from like in a Lamaze class. All of a sudden, I was just really tapped into her grief, and I was like breathing like this. And all of a sudden, my eyes teared up, and I started to cry, and I was just feeling all of her emotions. And in my mind's eye, I saw myself as a rock in a stream. So when you have a rock that's above the water and the water kind of goes over it like that. And as soon as that started happening, tears were going down my eyes. And it occurred to me in that moment, like, oh my gosh, this is what I tell my clients about. I said, no, this is not my grief. And as soon as I said no, my tears stopped crying, my eyes stopped crying. I immediately felt better. And in my mind's eye, I became this giant rock, and the water, if you're in a big rock, the water goes around the rock, right? It doesn't go over it.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, if I would have known that, like, how old am I? Like, I'm over 50. Like, if I would have known that earlier, how much pain that could have saved me. So I'm sharing that with you now to show you how powerful you are, you, Michelle, and everyone that's listening. All you have to do is use your choice and say, no, that's not mine. And boom, you will not have to feel it. It's that simple. Isn't that interesting?
That is very interesting because it brings me to relationships and how this is why I'm just going to say it and be very honest about it, because that's just me being my authentic self. But the bottom line is how I got suckered into some of the relationships that I've been in, right? Because I took on their emotions. I took on what they were putting out instead of saying, no, not mine. That's yours. And you need to deal with that. So I hope as somebody's hearing this today, you're seeing, maybe in your own relationship, you're seeing how you're taking in, and it's you living with them in their journey, and not you living yours. This was very eye-opening in that respect right now with what you were just saying. And
Mm.
I can see in a couple of my relationships past history where I could have had that opportunity to have that water go around that rock, and instead I continued until the day I didn't, right? Until the day I decided that that was not going to happen anymore. So that's very valuable in relationships. I see the value and why this has occurred in my time frame, for sure. For sure. So that was
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm glad you said that, Michelle, because here's the thing. None of us are victims. We're actually victors, but we're only victors once we choose. And
Right.
so, what I want to say is all these areas about on your chart, and if you get yours at what'smychart.com, you'll be able to see yours as well. Any of these sections that are white, if you've ever done stained glass and you were to superimpose this onto a stained glass plan, and you made all these white sections mirrors, what that would do is you would start to become very aware of who and what you're attracting into your life. And this illustrates the point about relationships. So what is a 10 out of 10 relationship? You're going to attract, how when you pass a mirror, you like kind of line yourself up and you're like, oh, let me just check myself out, right?
Let me just look in over here. I have a mirror right here. Yeah, let me just check myself out for a second.
Yeah. And so that's what we do. We are like mirrors, living our lives, and we're attracting people in the shape of lessons that are going to give us the opportunity to learn lessons. So in your case, Michelle, like 50% of people with this, what we call open solar plexus, This means that you're an empath, and it means you're going to attract people that are going to broadcast their feelings, their emotions, and you can either choose to get on that roller coaster. And there's nothing wrong with it, especially when you're a nurse and you want to say grieve with somebody
Right.
who's lost someone as a way to connect with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But the difference is you choose it, right? You choose and you say, I want to feel grief with this person. And then you feel that grief and you feel the connection and you cry with them and your tears are streaming down your face. And it's as if you lost someone. And that's a good thing because you choose it. But if you don't want to have that experience for whatever reason, there's no judgment. All you have to do is say no. And then that information stops coming in and you stop being affected by it. Your eyes will dry up. And it's not like you're hurting them. It's just that you're not experiencing it with them. You can
Right.
still put your arm around them and be compassionate, but you don't have to feel it if you don't want to. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I love how you explained that because that was perfect in so many areas of life, not just being a nurse, not just being in a relationship, but friendships, or you as a person just trying to get to know you and who you are. That was perfect. So thank you so much for that. That was eye-opening. Okay. Awesome, awesome. So again, everyone, I hope you see why it's important to get to know who you are as a person. I wish I would have known this 35 years ago, if you want to know the truth. Um, it would have been a different path for sure. I mean, you can't change, your past, of course, it is what it is, and it was laid out for the way it was. But knowing this now, um, gives me insight in knowing where I want to go and who I get to be. And now I can be a little more authentically myself. I think I've kind of held back, one, not really knowing. I really, didn't know, right? Now I know a little bit more. Definitely makes me want to dive a little deeper and see what else you're seeing that I'm not knowing at this point. And I hope that everybody sees that value because I want to know more now for sure. There's more to this than just what Grace has gone over. Um, is there anything other that you wanted to share that everybody
Yeah.
may want to know just a little bit, because really I think it's a deeper dive that is necessary for everybody.
It really is a deeper dive. I want to show you one thing, real quick about yourself, Michelle. And this is, if you've watched Michelle and you've been, you've listened to her other podcast or you've, been part of her community, then you'll know that this is true about her and you'll know that she is on purpose. So there's basically a 30% and a 70% thing going on with being yourself. So this kind of stuff is really important. It's like your way of being in the world, like the way there's 5 different types. This is about the way you show up in the world. There's 12 different ways. This is about the way that your inner guidance system works. And so if you're in alignment with these things, basically, it's kind of like those are indications of being in alignment with who you are, like the way that you're meant to interface with the world. Once you have those basic things, it's kind of like if you've ever been on a chiropractic table, you kind of have to lay down to be aligned in order to get to get the adjustment, right? So if
Right.
you think of these things as the 30%, I mean, this is illustrated, there's more to it, but just to give you a sense, like if you're living as yourself, it's like you laying on the table so that you can now get the adjustment. What is the adjustment? It's 70% of your purpose. What you're configured to be and do is made up of these 4 codes. So these are really powerful. There's a lot here. And I know we're just going to touch the surface, but I'm going to share this about Michelle because if you know her, you'll know that this is true. So here's the summary version of these 4 codes, Michelle. This is your purpose. You're here to explore, learn, and teach about the importance of perspective as a key element to cultivating self-actualization. It's the ability to take a big step back and see the big picture, to understand that the corrections and alignments necessary in the moment are essential to cultivating joy and exaltation. You're here to discover what brings the greatest joy and to pursue its purest expression, to realize and demonstrate that this pursuit is a worthy contribution to practice and perfect, contributing to the world in a way that brings the greatest joy, to teach the importance of joy. And this series of codes is called the right angle cross of service. But another way, the quantum language for that is the right angle cross of exaltation. So it's really to teach the importance of joy. And that is a big part of who you are, Michelle, and what you're here to be and do. So how does that resonate with you?
That that's heartwarming. Honestly. I've asked myself again, we just talked about this. My horoscope said I was going to learn something today, and I just had a major eye opener. Um, I have asked myself so many times, my story is very well known, throughout my community here. I was basically told I was going to die, and it has been it's been a task, it's been a journey. One, that I have had to learn through the process, even though you're book knowledged in this area where I'm at, you have to live it to really understand it. And all I've ever wanted from day one of starting this journey was to express to people that you really do have a purpose here in this world. You were designed for a reason. Um, and joy is one of my big things that I talk about, that you should, always find joy in something about you or what you're doing or where you're at, no matter where, when, how. There should be some joy and peace in that. Um, so that completely aligns with and makes me understand why I speak upon that so much. Because that is obviously what I'm supposed to be out here speaking to people about, is finding joy, finding that peace, being happy. um and I do that by showing people how to live through food. I say this all the time: God put food on this earth for a reason. It wasn't for us to modify, it was for us to utilize, it was for us to heal, it was for us to taste, to enjoy, to share, to express, to be happy, in all the ways, you know? Um, what happens when the cold weather hits? What's the first thing you want to eat? Chili cracks out, right? And there's a
Yeah.
warmth in that. There's a love in that. There's a passion that comes out of it. So these are the things that I try to express whenever I speak upon food, because I'm so passionate about food. So you hit me on the nose today, right on the nose. I still have chills all over me, so that's why I'm kind of hesitating when I talk, because there's a warmth over me. There's this chill, but there's this warmth. So I hope everybody's kind of understanding what I'm talking about today. Um, so Grace, I can't express enough how thankful I am that you gave me just that tidbit. That says a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. And I'm trying very hard not to cry right now. Um, with that being said, everyone, Ms. Grace, she has the intimacy breakthrough workshop coming up on April 19th. I highly recommend going and getting this workshop with her. Dive into it. Let her dive into you. I know I'm going to let her dive even further into me, because I think there's more I need to know. I think there's more I need to understand. And I think you could probably agree with that, with everything that you just brought about. And relationships are important in this world. We all know that if we work together, we create bigger things. When we work singly, we don't get as far, and it takes us a lot longer. So I want to encourage you today to analyze where you're at, take a look back, and see where things maybe didn't quite go in the direction and you're wondering why didn't it happen this way, why did it go this way, and reach out to Grace and ask her to give you a little bit of guidance on that. And the quiz that they take is called what again? You said it earlier, can you repeat that for them?
Sure. Yeah, it's to find out your address in the universe. So you'll need to know your date of birth, your time of birth, and your city of birth. And if you don't know your time of birth, most people can find it on your birth certificate or ask somebody, maybe your parent, a mom, usually mom knows, or
Yeah.
grandma knows. Sometimes there's people, and if you absolutely can't, there are ways that we can figure it out. And I can ask you a series of questions and we can come to that. So yeah, you can schedule time with me and we can do that, no problem. But yeah, it's really powerful because what if, and because a lot of people say to me, how is it possible that you could know all this stuff based on this information? But the way I understand it after, like I said, 2000 readings, 9 years of study, it comes down to this. In the same way that when you put in a new address on your phone, you put into the address into GPS and it takes you there, right? Well, what I understand now is that we all have an address in the universe, and that is this birth information. So this system is based on 7 ancient systems. They've been used for thousands of years, most of them, and it's the most detailed and specific personality assessment tool available. There's so much here. I mean, I've been studying my own chart for 9 years, like, and I learn new things all the time. Like, there's that much because any one of these systems you could literally spend your lifetime studying and you'd always learn new things. But the fact that this is based on 7 systems all rolled into one, there's so much depth and breadth so that if you had a reading from me and you had a reading from someone else, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you would cover probably that would be the same, but we would have a different angle on it. So what my angle is to make it simple and make it easy for you to understand. And so that's why the language that you'll see, we didn't talk about this for you, Michelle, but you're an express builder. And there's other language that comes from human design. And so as I was teaching it and studying it for the last 9 years, most of my clients would say, I really don't have time to learn a new language. I just want to know what I need to know about myself. So I have taken the time to put all that complicated stuff into very simple words that anybody could understand. And that's what you'll get when you get your free purpose report. It's what'smychart.com, https:// we'll put it in the show notes, but what'smychart.com, and you'll get your report and it will explain it. It's a 4-page report and it will explain a lot of things about yourself to you. And of course, you can always go deeper if you want more information, but essentially it will help you to know, love, and trust yourself when you know who you are, because then you can start to love who you are. And then from that, you can start to trust your intuition, trust your knowing, trust your senses, trust your body. A lot of people don't. We're taught not to. We're taught to make all our decisions in our head, but that's actually not going to serve us. So it's time for hashtag new ways of living, working, and being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that. And I saw that hashtag, which we're going to capitalize on that here in the show notes as well. Because I believe in that 100%, new ways of being for sure. And again, we're not human doers, we're human beings. So we need to be our authentic selves, build those 10 out of 10 relationships. And again, a 10 out of 10 relationship, it's different for everybody. You're going to get 100 different thought processes on that. But in the end, it is about love. It is about kindness. It is about being here for one another, caring for one another in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is that we all should be kind to each other and love on each other, and be here for each other. So, Ms. Grace, you're amazing as always when we talk. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you for your eye-opening thoughts and ways today of telling me who I am, because you hit me on the head. I appreciate you so much. And I have a feeling you do this every time. I don't think you miss by any means at all. And I want to encourage everyone today who's listening, please dive into Grace. I promise you, you can't go wrong. She is a beautiful human being, and she definitely, she hit me on the head today. And that's just a piece of it. I don't even have the whole entire design yet for what she has showed you up on that screen. So go to the Intimacy Breakthrough Workshop, April 19th. We'll put the link in the show notes, and we'll be more than happy to guide you if you reach out and say, hey, I'm not sure where to go. We will get you to Grace. I promise you that. So, Grace, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Is there anything you would like to add to today before we wrap up?
I would say this. When it's like getting to know yourself is like having a new baby in the family. So a baby comes in, right? You don't know this baby from Adam, but as soon as you start to play with them and you coo and you like start the googly eyes and all that, you just can't help but love them, right? So you get to know them and you start to love them, and when you love them, you can't help but take care of them. You can't help but want to take, self-care. I mean, you can't help but want to just, make sure they're safe. And so the same thing happens when you learn about yourself. When you know who you are, you can love who you are. And so many people don't love who they are. So, but when you know who you are and you love who you are, then you can start to trust yourself, and you can also take better care of yourself than you would if you didn't. It's just like the baby, you wouldn't have the same responsibility that you would feel towards a baby if you didn't spend that time with them and get to know them and love them. And that's what you're going to do with yourself when you look at your energy blueprint and you look at how amazing you are. You can't help but fall in love with yourself. And that's an amazing thing. It opens up a whole new world.
It does. It does. I can see that. I can really see that. And you even opened up my eyes to a conversation I had over the weekend. I'm telling you, you're speaking today. You are really speaking today. All right. You opened up another door. We'll chat about that. All right, everyone. That is a wrap for today on Show Me Nourish podcast. Miss Grace, I love you as always. You are amazing. You are wonderful. How, once again, can they go and get their intimacy reading and then follow up on that workshop?
So there's two things to get your chart and get a picture of yourself, like we showed of Michelle. You go to what'smychart.com, and if you want to come to the workshop and get your intimacy breakthrough, that we'll put the link in the show notes, but it's kyr.life/intimacy. That will take you to the Zoom registration, and then you'll get that Zoom link and you'll be able to add it to your calendar. And you'll get reminders, and we'll see you there, and it's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to the workshop. So I want to hear it all again. So I think I learn something new every time I attend. So please go and tap into that workshop. Miss Grace is absolutely amazing. And Miss Grace, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you. Show Me Nourish. That's a wrap for today. Sending you tons of love. Everyone have a beautiful and wonderful day. Thank you so much. Goodbye for now.